Okay, here we go. Chapter 24, Book 2. Quibus tali casu patratus. Okay, so patratus and quibus are in the ablative. Means with this thing completed, tali would be such. Casu by itself can be accidentally or casually, but it looks like he has fate. Such a fate would have it when they had completed this. Ad castra per venemus. We reached ad castra. We arrived at a camp. Nomine Thelutha by the name of, or with the name Thelutha, which was Citta, situated in Medio Fluminus, in the middle of a river. Okay, the locum immenso quodam vertis tuum escentum, so that's a present participle going with locum. So this was a swelling place, or bulged out, on a certain quodam vertis immenso, so on some huge vertis, which is like a peak, and with the power potestate natura, and the power with we'll say the power of nature, as if it was circumseptum, hedged in around by manu humana. Manus and is a female of the fourth, along with colonnades, etc. Most of them are male. So as if it was hedged in by human hand, and this is how strong it was naturally, of who, Quis, Incola are the inhabitants. They attempted to treat the Incolas, the inhabitants, to a deditionem, which is a surrender, and they did it mollius, rather softly, ut decabat, as is fitting, or as they ought to do. Quoniam sense, in a spiritus editor, so there's a harsh high ground, which would be superabated, would be overcome by vim armorum, by force of arms. But in tempestivam tunc defectionem esses firmabat. So they asked them to surrender nicely, but they affirmed that it was in tempestem, an untimely time tunc then, to defect, or to surrender. Said, but hac tenus means thus far, and hac is this, so, but this far, or as far as this, they responded, the responder wanted, quod that, cum interior occupavered, when they had occupied the interior of this region, protenus, pretty much straight on or immediately, the Romans gradientes, which is the present participle, when the Romans were basically means stepping, when they were walking into the interior, so when the Romans got as far as the interior, say themselves, quoque also, utpoet, which means in as much as, an adverb, they were sequelas regnorum, they were, well, got appendages of the king, but they follow the leadership of the king of that region. Then they would akessuros to the victors. So if the Romans came into the interior, obviously they would be victors, and then immediately these people, in as much that they are followers of the king, they would do that. I might just put that there with this definition. Okay. Et post hac, after these things, post takes the accusative. Here's this sequela. That which follows, a follower, a result, a consequence, a sequel. First declension. It's not that common, really. Okay. Praetermientes means passing by, it's present participle. The monio, which means the walls. So, nostras naves, our ships, passing by the wall, they were spectabanting. They were watching on with a veracunda quiet, with a reverential quietness. Immobiles means they weren't moving. Quo transitu, with this thing transitus, passed by. Cum, when, ad munimentum aliad, when they come to another munimentum, another fortress, nomine, M shouldn't be there in proper Latin, by the name of Acciochala of Venice we had come to. So, cum, when we had come to another fortress by the name of this place, Fluminus, circummissione, valum arduum transcensu, that looks ablative. So, had another arduous valum or rampart around it, and some sort of circuitous thing of the flumen of the river. And refutate pari responso. So with the response pari meant equal, they refused. So the first place they went to, high on a mountain, they refused. Second place, they refused. Discesimus. So we left that place as well. Alia post ride castra. So post ride just means the next day. Another castra, another camp. Ob muros invalidos. Because of the invalid walls or the weak walls, praeteranto. It was passed by. The derelicta. So it was a derelict. The walls were fallen down, and the derelicta was incensa. They also burned that place when they passed by. Postera. So afterwards, igator, therefore or then. Also at insequente die, in the following day, only two adjectives have an I at the end. Immensus means you've measured or you've gone through, so they've traversed or gone through. Ducentus stadius, which means 200 stadia. Ventimest, it was arrived at locum, a place, Baraxamalca. And that would be the name of the locum. Locum is in the accusative because it takes ad. Undi. From there, transito amne, having crossed the river, with the river crossed, it's ablative. Milario septimo, disparata, so which means separated by 7 miles. Invadator Dakira. They went into Dakira. The civitas, we'll take that as the city, was vacua, so it was empty from habitor buses, from inhabitants. We've got Frumento and Salabus, Nitidus plena. So it was plena, full with grain and looks like shining salt, which it's not really shining, it's fine. Inqua, which is the female version, in which we have a neuter templum, a temple, altai, culminus, archivitimus. So we saw high on the coal mine, this is like a peak, archive the citadel, the templum was superpositum. So this temple was placed above, up on the high peak of the citadel. Qua, female, which they burnt. So they burnt the city. And casus qui mulieribussus porcus. And they slaughtered some few women. Aren't they nice? Quae repertissunt, which they found. Trajecto fronte, they had passed by a spring. Oh, it's got a present participle. Scatentine bitumen. So it has bubbling bitumen. Scatentine. You don't see that often. Occupimus oppidum ozo Gardner. So we occupied or took this town, Osgodsodon, which form in Adventis exit. So with our army approaching, because of this fear or dread, the formidine of this approaching army, exercise, this is the fourth, so it can be genitive. Itadem. So, and likewise the cultors are the same as habitoribusses, basically. Cultors are people who live there. They had likewise deserted virade. They deserted the place. And from the All Words download, we have scatterbra is a bubbling spring, gush of water from the ground, and the verb scatto, to spring up, gush out, to be plentiful. Okay, that can be our daily dictionary word. So there's bubbling up, scatentai, bitumen. Now, in which, this would be in this town, a tribunal ostendabator was shown of the princeps Traiano. So it's be Trajan. The lobe has a footnote. This is perhaps a memorial to the dead emperor. Meanings uncertain. Could be reference to a structure built by Trajan when alive. Okay. Hake, quoque, exhauster. So this also they burnt down. They like burning things. Biduo. So 2 days. Shouldn't be there. To refectionem of their corporums. So there was 2 days for the repairing of their bodies, or data was given. They were given 2 days to refresh, basically, or recover from their long walk and all the burning and killing of women. Prope extremum noctis, near the extreme of the night, so I guess daylight was coming. Que secundum diem secutor est, which followed the second day. Remember, they had 2 days, and then at the end of the night after the second day. Serena, which is some position. Post regum apud the Persians. So after the king, amongst the Persians, he has merited some sort of dignitatus, some worthy, pre-merited. So this official title comes after the king in merit anyway. And Malichus, by the name, that must be a race, and a Malichus by the name of Podosarchus. He's a Phylarchus. This is another position of authority of the Asinatum Saracens, double genitive. A bandit, a latro of a famous name, or with a famous name, you might want to say in English. Omni Savitia per nostros limites. DUI means for a long time. So he had grasped us. He had come in and invaded and been a bandit there with a lot of savagery through our limites. The limits are just like our lands. He had constructed Structus Insidious, which is plotting, it's an ambush, for Omizadae, that would probably be dative, who was speculating of an exitorum. He was looking for some way he could go out. Incertum unde, it's uncertain from where, but pre censoret. So this was sensed. Pre means in advance. So they found out in advance that there was this plotting or this ambush going on. And idio. For this reason, this temptamento, this attempt of an ambush was frustrati, means it was in vain. Quod because the angusta fluminis interluvis, because of the narrowness of the interluvis, I think that's a fifth declension of the river. It's usually the wash and the overflow of the river. So river was very narrow, and praealta can mean very high or very deep. It's a river, so it's very deep. And he was non-potuit, not able to transiri the vado, the ford. He was not able to ford this river. Okay. 5. Et primo Lucas exordio, and in primo, in the first exordio, in the first beginning Lucas of light, when ascent the hostes were now in contuitu. This is the fourth declension. It means you're in their view, or even stronger than view. They're intently gazing on them. Yam now. So when they were really looking on at the enemy now, Visai tunc primatus. Then in the first sight, Koruskai with it's like there's lots of light bouncing off their galleass, from their helmets, and horrentes. It's like bristling, or even horrifying, I suppose, with indutibus with the rigid things they are indutibusing, which they were wearing. The milites, the soldiers, in prosanctum impetu veloci. So they made a fast attack. Prosanctum means they were girt in all their armour. Tendentes looks like a present participle. They were aiming at Eos, those, and they involverate. So they flew in at them. Fortissime, adverb means most bravely. Et quam vis. And although arcus, it's a fourth, so it can be plural. These are bows. Bows are arcuses. They were flectenta. You know that. So, sorry. So though the bows were benting with validus viribus, with very strong strength, valid strength, and the splendor, this is the shining ferri of irons, was intermicans. Micans means it's glistening again or flickering. So there was a flickering of the splendor of the irons. This augured, this increased the fear of the Romans. Ira tamen acute. So ira must be ablative. So tamen, nevertheless, the anger was acuente, sharpened. And the virtutem is like valor and virtues. Now they contecti means they're covered over by density of their cliporums with a shield. So they're covered up with a dense or close mobbing of the shields. Ne possit, so that it was not possible, coagulant, they were not able to force out to emittere from their bows. So they couldn't send the arrows out from the bows, which were bent with lots of strength. They were crushed upon by a lot of density of the shields, and they weren't able to emittere their arrows. Okay, that's it for the day.